strong.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Masked Gaming, and today I present to you my Stamina Warden PvP build for the up and coming Stonethorn DLC, which is currently in the PTS stage. This build has been requested by a few friends and viewers, so I thought I would cover it in today's video. So let's jump right in. As you can see on our character sheet, we have 3k base weapon damage with a low critical rating of 26.5. We have a maximum stamina of 29.5k as well as a max health of 18,000, a modest amount of magicka with 10,591, a modest magicka recovery amount with 1,098, a low health recovery amount with 526, and a very balanced spell and armor amount of 17,173, backed up by a 2,003 critical resist amount. Now, as you can see, we are a Nord on this Stam Warden, running 64 points into stamina. We are running the Lava Foot Soup and Saltris food, which increases our max stamina by 4.5k and increases our stamina recovery by a further 451. We are running the Serpent as our Mundus Stone to increase our stamina recovery by 507. So now, let's go on to the gear. Now, we are running on this build 5 Clever Alchemist and 5 Eternal Vigor. This is because Eternal Vigor gives amazing sustain, as we saw in the stat sheet. If you look here, you can see that it gives us 129 magic recovery, 129 stamina recovery, 129 health recovery, more max health, and it gives us even more recoveries while our health is above 50%, but also makes us extremely hard to kill below 50%, because of the extra 1000 health recovery this build is adding. We're also running Clever Alchemist because it gives us some raw damage, as you can see here. It gives us max health, more weapon and spell damage, and it gives us an extra 675 weapon and spell damage after popping a potion. Now let's go over the weapons. We are running a Maul of Eternal Vigor. This is because the Maul ignores 20% of all resistances, physical resistances that is, on an enemy, so it makes us so we can get that extra bit of penetration. As you can see, I'm also running double dot poisons on this as well, but this is just a luxury. You can run stam/magicka drain poisons if you wish. Next we have a Master's Bow on the back bar infused with a weapon damage enchant to drive our damage up, while also buffing up to increase our damage done against that target that we put Poison Inject onto. Next up we have one piece of Balorgs in medium. Now, we are not running a 2-piece monster set, as I will cover why very shortly. This will add an extra 129 weapon and spell damage, and we're running a full Divines setup with this build. Next up we have our 4 medium pieces. Now, our 4 medium pieces come from the Clever Alchemist, mixed with the medium Balorg Mask that adds to our 5-piece. We are running 2 heavy pieces of Eternal Vigor, as it does not drop in any other choice, so we have to use this to conserve our damage and buff our resistances. We are running the Cuirass and the Greaves of Eternal Vigor with tri-stat enchantments to allow us to get more stats, while also driving up our resistances with the 2 heavy pieces being on the big parts. Now, if you look to our jewellery, we are running the Talk of Tonal Constancy. This is in infused. We have a Clever Alchemist ring, also in infused, and we also have a Ring of Eternal Vigor in infused. Now, you may notice that one of these is actually in a reduced cooldown of potions. This actually reduces the cooldown of potions that you have below the item's level. Now, potions do not go above champion point 150. That reduces the cooldown of them by 8 seconds, meaning we can have a higher uptime on our Clever Alchemist proc, while also meaning we can have as many potions as we need when we need them. So we don't have to wait the long 45-second cooldown. It's now instead gone down to 37. We then have 2 infused weapon damage enchants on the Talk of Tonal Constancy and the Ring of Eternal Vigor, just so that we can drive up our raw damage. Now let's move on to our skills. On the front bar we are running, obviously, Dizzying Swing from the 2-handed skill line to hit them and do a lot of damage. It's the main spammable for a lot of stam classes. I know it's very repetitive. I am looking for an alternative currently. Next up we have the Sub Assault. Now this is the blast bones of the Warden. This ability is a large burst, reduces their physical resistance, and allows you to hit like a truck in a large burst in a very short amount of time. Next up, if the first two abilities don't kill the enemy, you also have the Executioner, which can hit for up to 12k in a PvP scenario, which I have seen hit, and it is very, very strong. It finishes off enemies who are guaranteed to be below 35% health, unless they're spamming shields, then you need to try a little bit harder. Next up we have Rally to boost our weapon damage, but the main reason I use it, as you can see in the dueling footage below, I use it for a large burst heal. My health goes from below 25% instantly back up to full health thanks to this ability, and it is a lifesaver in a lot of builds. Next up we have Bird of Prey. Now Bird of Prey, when you cast it, increases your movement speed by 30%. While this is good, we actually have this ability for the slotted ability. Grants minor berserk just for having it slotted, which increases your damage done by 8%. This is a very nice bonus considering how everybody in PvP has 50% damage taken reduced. And for our ultimate on the front bar, we have the Dawnbreaker of Smiting. I was going to go for the weapon damage booster version, but for this I decided to go for the raw damage and the stun, which contributes very nicely towards the Sub Assault, which we can synergize quite well together to get a nice one-shot burst. Now on our back bar. Our back bar is our bow. So we have Ice Fortress, which is our resistance booster, but while also having it on, it reduces our damage taken by 8%. Very nice. Long duration, 24 seconds. The fight should be over by then. Next up we have Poison Injection. Now Poison Inject, while it serves as an execute at long range, as you can see me doing in the dueling footage at some points, this actually buffs our weapon damage by 330 against the target we shoot it against, thanks to our Master's Bow. Now we're using Green Lotus on the third ability. Now Green Lotus is the leeching strikes of a Warden. It gives you health just for doing light and heavy attacks, which is brilliant, but while also having it activated, you get increased critical rating by 2191, which I believe translates to 10% bonus crit for 20 seconds. Next up we have Vigor, obviously. It's a very nice heal. As you can see in my footage, I do dodge around a lot, but that's so my Vigor has time to activate and give me the full health boost. Now next up we have the Bullneck. Now the Bullneck is a very nice ability. It is a constant booster of weapon and spell damage, but it also removes negative effects. Now this is why I like this ability. It means that poisons don't stay on me, debuffs don't stay on me, I stay at my normal state thanks to this Bullneck, and it costs nothing, so if I've got a lot of effects on me, I can keep on spam casting it to remove them. It is a free purify. Plus, it also gives me an extra bit of stamina sustain. Now, as you saw, my stamina sustain is very nice already. As you can see in my dueling footage, again, I am barely ever dropping below 50% stamina. And on the back bar, I have the Wild Guardian just to have it slotted. Sometimes, if I ever feel like I need to, I'll stay on my back bar and I'll just cast this to put some extra pressure on the enemy. However, swapping to the front bar does instantaneously kill this ally, so it doesn't really allow you to maintain it 100% of the time unless you're on that bar. Now let's move on to champion points. In the tower, we're running quite a very generic setup. We have 18 in Warlord to reduce our break free cost. We have 2 in Sprinter because we do need to put our points somewhere, and a bit of reduced cost in Sprint never hurt anybody. We have 100 in Mooncalf to get that full 15%. This is to min-max our skills setup and our stats to allow us to get more sustain. We don't really do many heavy attacks in this build, but heavy attacks can tie in nicely, so I thought I'd chuck a few points into Tenacity, sitting at 40. Now next up, this is where it helps out a lot. If you remember correctly, the Eternal Vigor set increases our health recovery by 1000 when we're below 50% health. Putting 60 points into Healthy will allow us to drive that number up to 1200 bonus health recovery, which is very nice. It's a nice chunk of health recovery, meaning we can heal a lot easier and get out of those clutch situations. Then next up we have 50 points into Tumbling. Tumbling's quite nice because I do dodge around a lot. It just means that I can trigger riposte to set them off balance, and plus it's just nice to not be able to cost an arm and a leg just to dodge out of an attack. I don't have any points into Shadow Ward, which a lot of people would say to have them in. I don't block much because I feel like my dodge rolling pretty much does the job for me, but you can put points into Shadow Ward if you wish. Now we have no points into the Apprentice tree at all. We have 20 in Physical Weapon Expert. We have 60 points into Master at Arms because a lot of our attacks, pretty much all of them, are direct damage. We have 40 points into Thaumaturge to drive our poison damage up. We have 50 points in Precise Strikes to drive our critical damage higher. We have 50 points into Piercing to increase our physical penetration by 3,960, stacked up with our Maul, which ignores 20% of physical resistances, allowing us to hit very hard through any amount of resistances that the enemy has. Next up we have Mighty, 50 points into Mighty, increasing our physical, poison and disease damage done by 11.25%. A nice round number, allowing us to hit quite hard while also conserving some realistically needed champion points. Now next up we have 60 in Ironclad. Ironclad allows us to reduce all the damage we take from direct damage, and a lot of builds in PvP nowadays are direct damage, so it's nice to have that. We have another 60 points into Resistant, driving up our critical resistance. This is nice as we were given a base resistance in the Greymore patch, and now I'm driving that further by using the Resistant champion points, meaning we can get that critical resistance while also running full Divine's gear, so we're not losing out on anything as we were before Greymore. Next up we have 30 in Thick Skinned. Now Thick Skinned's quite nice, but it doesn't really require many points to actually work well, so just having 30 in them allows us to counter most damage over time builds, like the one I covered in my previous video, which I saw has 400 views already, which I am very, very happy about. Just want to say a quick thank you to you all for your support. Now next up we have 60 points into Elemental Defender, reducing all the shock, flame and magic damage that we take by 12.57%, and Hardy is the same number of 60 points, reducing our physical, poison and disease damage taken by 12.57%. We have no points into the Lord as of this build. Now, I'm going to quickly demonstrate how I personally start off a duel. Now, I know dueling isn't what you PvPers probably come here for, but dueling is a good way to test out your build against friends and allows you to just understand how the build works before taking it into an open world scenario. Now, to start off a duel, say someone's just offered to duel you, you pop your rally. Always pop your rally, it's good to have your buffs up. Next up, you pop your Ice Fortress, then you pop your Lotus, and your Betty Netch for the extra sustain. And now you're all set. You've got them charging at you. You pop your Sub Assault. The Sub Assault is key because after 2 seconds, it will explode. Now it says invalid location because I'm currently stood on a rock in the middle of some water. So let me just jump out of that and demonstrate it on the ground. If people have never seen what Sub Assault does before, you see that shulk burst there. That does a lot of damage, but you need to aim it. So my advice for playing Warden would be to try and center yourself by moving backwards. If you run forwards, then there's a chance that you could accidentally look off to the right or the left, which is where you don't really want it. You're looking around and you think, oh, I've just missed him. But if you're walking backwards, there's little chance for error and they'll be running at you, so they'll be walking right into your damage, allowing you to hit them with your dizzying swings and your executes and even your Dawnbreaker, which I know some people find very difficult to aim. Now I understand it's quite a difficult skill to aim, but practicing with Warden allows you to hit these and your Dawnbreakers at the same time. Now, if I fully buff up, I pop a potion. I'm not in combat, so you won't see the Clever Alchemist bonus. But if I fully buff up here, as you can see in my character page, I'm sitting at 3.5k stamina recovery with 3.6k weapon damage. Now 3.6k may not seem like a lot to you guys, but 3.6k is enough to hit those nasty one bursts that you can see in the footage below. Now if I quickly just put down a target dummy, I can demonstrate to you guys what Clever Alchemist does in a combat scenario. So I've just put this little fella down, gonna get into combat with him. He doesn't look too happy with me, so let's just buff up, put that down, fully buff up. Let's hit him with a poison inject, because why not? Buff up again, and pop a potion. Now you see in our character page we're sitting at 4.5k weapon damage, 3.5k stamina recovery, and 23k resistances each. Now if you thought that's where the build ended, you're very wrong. Now if you see here, if I drain my magicka to below 50%, my stam recovery goes up to 4k with 1.2k magicka recovery. Now that's what the Talk of Total Constancy does, increasing our recoveries based on what the other resource is doing if it's below 50% health, 50% of its amount, which is very nice. It ties in well with the Warden, it has crazy damage, and I genuinely do recommend this build for Battlegrounds and Open World, possibly more for Open World, as this build does have the capability to 1vx if you play the build right. Now that is all from me, guys. I'm going to leave it there with a image of the stat sheet again. I'm very thankful for all your guys' support. You've all been amazing, looking at my videos, liking, leaving feedback. I aim to be very inclusive of my community, so anybody who asks a question, I will reply to your comment instantly. I'm pretty much on my phone all day, so I can get to each and every one of your comments and advise you and help you, or even respond to any queries that you have about my builds. So this has been Master Gaming. Thank you all very much. Please drop a like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you very much.